I'm so glad you guys get to meet Courtney as well.
Yeah.
We've been friends since college, just so you know.
Yeah, it's really an honor to be here and to be chatting about our book. Oh, sorry. This makes me nervous.
I can hold it for you also.
The demon duchess in high heels strikes again. Meghan's showing her true nature. She cannot uplift other women.
All of these people that are around her, and not one person is acknowledging her, talking with her, looking in her direction. She is just standing there alone, drinking wine.
Meghan Markle has lost her 10th spin chief in just 5 years, as a Netflix staffer who she made a big deal about hiring has resigned after just 3 months because things were, surprise, pretty horrible. But Meghan hopes that we're going to ignore this story. We're not, by the way, because she's flooding the zone for Meghan 3.1. Look at this brand new Instagram story promising some type of big new as ever announcement, even though we know that this business is completely failing. And then she has decided to go public with her friend at the bookshop. This is Courtney Adamo. What's interesting, though, as Meghan Mole pointed out, Oprah wanted nothing to do with Meghan. They managed to book their events on different days. And once again, despite this woman apparently being her best mate, her BFF for many years, Meghan was able to show her controlling true colours. Watch.
You guys get to meet Courtney as well.
Yeah.
We've been friends since college, just so you know.
Yeah, it's really an honor to be here and to be chatting about our book. Oh, sorry. This makes me nervous.
I can hold it for you also.
And this was meant to be an event to promote Meghan Markle's BFF's book. But of course, Meghan Markle made it all about her, revealing intimate details of life at home with her children, which includes, by the way, starting each day with music and candles and the fact that she has a healing blanket. Good Lord. I really do feel sorry for those prisoners. Sorry, I mean children. But let's look a little bit more at the interaction on stage, the very awkward interaction on stage between Meghan and, I would say, a terrified Courtney.
I remember seeing it on Instagram and going, is that Courtney? And they're in a minivan somewhere in South America. Like but it's amazing when you can find what you're able to create in a small space, when a lot of us, especially here, have a lot of, I grew up in a small duplex. We all have a lot more opportunity, space, privilege, or you have a lot of open space as you did growing up on this farm. But when you have a limited amount of space, what are the practical tools that she's been able to implement for her family and for her kids to feel connected? When I think so much of what we're really speaking to ultimately is, how do we open our doors, our hearts, and our homes, both for our own families and when we have guests, especially as the holiday season is approaching? What are those tips and those elements that you can translate from a small apartment as a single woman to a couple that's dating?
Oh, zip it, Meghan. Seriously, just zip it. We've heard it all before. But again, why it matters is because she showed her true colours, didn't she, in that microphone moment where she was correcting how her friend used the mic. And as according to Taz, royal YouTube sensation, wrote, they were in a bookstore. I'm certain that the lady was being heard with no issues, but Meghan doing that is to make herself the centre of attention. And I am delighted to say that Tash joins me now. Tash, my God, it's all about control, isn't it? It's all about power. And I actually think, yet again, Meghan was able to show her true colours here. This was an event that should have been about her friend, but indeed she's not only really enforced the control, you're doing that wrong, but she's turned it all into talking all about Archie and Lily, who are apparently these people who she wants to have privacy, but she's going to talk every little detail about what they say to her, about how they talk. It's just gross. But what did you make of that moment with the microphone, Tash?
It's just, It's with her, it's control. It's a way to make herself the center of attention. She always has to do something. If that person's having their photograph taken, Meghan will kiss them on the cheek. It's deemed as people that are looking at it thinking, oh, she's being sweet and affectionate. No, she's not. She's making the camera then focus on her. And even her friend said, oh, it's making me nervous. And Meghan's like, I can hold the microphone for you. Oh, I'll bet you just can. She completely overtook her friend, and this was a book promotion. Her friend's book that she co-wrote with her husband. Someone needs to give Meghan the memo on that, because she just completely overtook everything. And as for another anecdote about her favorite child, let's be realistic, Dan, it's no longer Archie, is it? It's always Lily. Lily's the most amazing child. She just comes out with these stories every single time, and it sounds so artificial. Lots of my friends have children, my family members have children. I've never heard the stories like she comes out with. It makes everything just so contrived. But to overtake your friends, big deal for her, I'd imagine, having this launch at Godmother's, which is now a bit of a celebrity hangout. It's Meghan showing her true nature. She cannot uplift other women.
Oh, I know. I mean, Tash, the details were just so awful. First thing I do when I wake up in the morning is turn the music on in the house. I always travel with a candle. I am so conscious and sensitive to fragrance, and I associate that with home. And then she says that she uses with her young children something called the rose and thorn ritual, which is helpful when kids often only give yes and no answers, she explained. Our daughter, she's 4, and she's a very strong personality, and she's incredible. And now she's in the moment where I say, what's your rose and thorn? And she goes, my day was just a blast. Another ritual she and Harry share with Archie and Lily is the healing blanket, which was a gift from the bookstore's co-founder, Victoria Jackson. Meghan revealed that whenever one of them isn't feeling well, they reach for the healing blanket to comfort them. So, look, we've always known these kids are clearly going to be growing up as woke can be. And I guess this is just evidence of it, Tash.
Institutionalized, more like. I mean, the first thing these poor kids wake up to is Meghan playing music. She won't even let them escape when they go away, if they ever go away with their parents, of course. But she even takes a speaker with her as well, so she can play music. She's absolutely unhinged. To me, it sounds more like a horror film. When you have the people that are in the asylum and they're torturing the patients by making them listen to music first thing. Let's just start calling her Nurse Ratchet at this point.
Agree. Tash, this hilarious video has also been analysed. Do you remember last week when Meghan was meant to be the toast of this dinner party with Emma Grey? Turns out that wasn't actually the case when the cameras were off, or when she thought the cameras were off. Watch.
So this is a moment that I don't believe Meghan realised was being recorded, because look... And this is what I really feel is the truth. It's like all of these people that are around her, and not one person is acknowledging her, talking with her, looking in her direction. She is just standing there alone, drinking wine. There's just nothing. And I think this is very indicative of who Meghan really is.
It's so interesting, isn't it, Tash? The difference when she knew that, when she thought, that she was not being filmed.
Yes, you see the photographs with her smiling with her big Hollywood grin. There's one photograph where she's smiling at Nicole Avant, I think her surname is. She's basically Ted Sarandos, the Netflix CEO's wife. And it's very different to the 2 photographs that were released of her looking rather solitary, almost looking like she's completely lost. But as for that clip, it's my personal opinion that they're just animated photographs. The woman's face changes that's meant to be Meghan, and that's why it's been spliced so much. So that's just my opinion, that I think that is actually animated. I've only ever seen that one clip go round, and to me it just doesn't look right. But the photographs of Meghan completely, drinking the glass of wine on her own. I'd imagine that's because not a lot of the women wanted to drink her cheap white labeled plonk that has been forced on them. And she's probably like, well, if they're not going to drink it, I will. But yeah, she doesn't really look like that she's having a great time. But this wasn't a meeting of friends. Most of the people there that I saw were on the WME client list. This is nothing more than just another get together, another social event, I suppose, like a business schmoozer, as it were, for Meghan to get more contacts. But yeah, she didn't come across like she was having a whale of a time, that's for sure. But then Meghan doesn't know what to do with herself, and she's not the center of attention.
Tash, the story, though, which Meghan hopes that we're not going to be talking about today, so let's do it, okay? She has lost another aide after just 3 months. And what is so shocking about this is it now means that it is the 10th spinner, the 10th PR chief that she has had in 5 years. Now, if you look at most celebrities, and remember, I was in this world of entertainment, celebrity, royalty, for a long time, dealing with these people. Most people would want to have their PR chief or their chief spinner, communications secretary, however you want to describe it, and there's lots of different words that are used, with them over a long period of time, Tash. I mean, very often celebrities, big celebrities, stay with their PR chief potentially for over a decade, some for even 20 years plus, because what it means is that you build up relations with the media and you're able to have a sort of shorthand between your client and key publications, and they know the background to everything. Well, of course, that doesn't happen with Meghan Markle, as Lauren the Insider, who herself was one of these PR chiefs for a long time, said, here we go again. The stats don't lie. Staff turnover is a huge indication of this. So let me take you through this exclusive in the Daily Mail today by Alison Boshoff, who reveals the Duchess of Sussex has parted company with her 10th publicist in just 5 years, after a big name she poached from Netflix quit after just 3 months. Emily Robinson joined Harry and Meghan's team as Director of Communications in June, but she has already jumped ship. Ms. Robinson was always a controversial hire, as she had worked on The Crown for years, a show which aired a number of damaging narratives about the royal family. The final series included scenes in which the ghost of Princess Diana appeared to speak to the Queen, Prince Charles, which many found sensitive. One friend of LA-based Robinson, who built up a reputation as a tough cookie at Netflix, said it was her decision. She left a few weeks ago. She's not a quitter, so things must have been pretty horrible for her to go. Ms. Robinson's LinkedIn profile does not currently include any reference to having worked with the couple, but other roles which she has held are listed. She's at least the 10th publicist to leave the employ of Meghan and Harry since they left the UK for California 5 years ago, although 2 former publicists, James Holt and Miranda Barbo, have been promoted into non-PR roles. Remaining on their team are Liam Maguire, Director of Communications in Europe, and Meredith Maines, their Chief Communications Officer. Some sources say Ms. Maines is now enduring a difficult time. No sugar Sherlock as the couple's Chief Communications Officer. And then a spokesman for the couple, which is clearly Maines, right, has had to lie about this, saying Ms. Robinson oversaw project-based work for a very successful season of With Love Meghan and additional support for the production company. She did an excellent job and completed these projects with great success. Stop lying. Stop lying. Seriously, that's not how this works. You do not hire a director of communications, I know this, for a project basis. You would just bring on a freelancer if it was to work on a project. And also stop lying saying that this was a very successful season of With Love Meghan. It wasn't. It was a complete disaster. As Royal News Network posted on X, it seems like the latest departure is Emily Robinson. Apparently it was a voluntary exit and things must have been pretty horrible. Yeah, I can imagine trying to work with Meghan and turn her mediocrity into success publicly would be a challenge. So, Tash, what do you make of this?
Well, I think the demon duchess in high heels strikes again. It's pretty obvious that she can't retain staff because she doesn't treat them very well. This is a common thing that we have seen over her time inside the royal family. Since she left the royal family, her Archwell staff, even, other companies that she's worked with. Let's not forget that it was Spotify and Gimlet staff that tried to help her with her Archetypes podcast. They were the ones that also said she was absolutely awful. And I believe it was a member member of Gimlet staff that had said that they ended up in therapy. So it's not just people that work under her, it's people that work alongside her. There are too many people that have come forward. And like you said, for a woman well, not a woman, but for a person to be in that sort of position, you want to retain them. You want to have them as your ears and your eyes. You'd want them to act. They know you so well. You'd want to be with them for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So you don't have to worry about anything. They know exactly what you want. They know what you think. They know what you do. And they do it on your behalf. That's the whole idea of having a chief of communications. They can act on what you want them to do. No one knows what Meghan wants them to do until she barks at them and clearly tells them what to do. And the fact is, this woman quit after 3 months. The only reason why they have put out something positive is because the story, in my opinion, got leaked before Harry and Meghan could probably get in a negative about her. When I think he was chief of security, that grey-haired chap, he pulled out right before they flew to Colombia. They quickly got a negative out there saying that it just wasn't working out between them. Whereas in this instance, it's obvious that she has quit, so she's got the upper ground. So they're like, oh no, yeah, no, she was great. She really helped with the success of With Love Meghan. It was no more of a success than her 2 podcasts, which of course she's still managing to collect awards for. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Oh, totally. Of course it is. But I mean, this just feeds into the narrative now that her PR cannot be saved. And why on earth would you want to go and be part of this? Because unfortunately for Ms. Robinson, this is now damaging for her career. I mean, it's fascinating, Tash, that she hasn't even included her tenure on her LinkedIn. It's like, never happened, nothing to see here.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's completely true. She isn't the first to have done that. I'm sure I've read that other employees that have left after a short amount of time, it was revealed that they weren't actually putting their time that they were at Archwell on their resumes or CVs. I think, if anything, it's because it was so awful, they want to forget it, which again makes it laughable with Meghan, who talks about what an awful time that she had working for the royal family, yet she walks around with her little monogram suitcases and expects everybody to call her a duchess, and people probably still have to curtsy to her behind the scenes. But that's what you do. If you've had a terrible time at a company, you just go, do you know what? They're not going to give me a decent review. They're not going to turn around and say I was a great employee. I hated it. I quit, and you just move on with your life. But it does show the contrast that these people that work for her just want to pretend that it never, ever happened. And if anything, I think it's good that these stories are still coming out. Not that she's still clearly treated people badly, but all of the backlash that staff that work for the royal family that received. It's almost give them sort of justification. People are beginning to see that it wasn't the royals, it wasn't the royal staff. Meghan wasn't treated unfairly. She's just a terrible human being to work for. She treats people appallingly.
I know, it's like another member of the Sussex Survivors Club, which just gets bigger. Just gets bigger. Honestly, I want to be in on that WhatsApp group. Seriously. Although there's a lot of trauma there. You can laugh about it, Tash, but there's a lot of trauma there. Yeah. And as you rightly point out, there are people who have ended up in rehab because of her with psychological issues. So obviously there is a funny side, but also, there's a serious side to it as well. Yeah. Tash, obviously crisis continues to engulf the British royal family over the Prince Andrew situation. Yeah. Lots of people are expecting a big announcement from Royal Lodge last night. The TV crews were there. Yeah. Then nothing came. So certainly it looks like discussions are continuing at pace. But an interesting briefing to the Daily Telegraph today, which reveals that Prince Andrew believes that the king actually wants the Royal Lodge and has an ulterior motive. And that ulterior motive, which may have been sped up, I guess, given Charles's terrible cancer battle, is for Royal Lodge to end up for Camilla once Charles passes. Remember, it was where the Queen Mother used to live. So here's the reporting, Tash. Prince Andrew believes the king is trying to force him out of his Royal Lodge home because he wants to give it to the Queen. The prince is refusing to move out of his 30-room residence near Windsor Castle, where he lives rent-free. Andrew has what he regards as a cast-iron lease on Royal Lodge, which means his older brother cannot legally evict him, having been forced to give up his Duke of York title, although that's not quite true, is it? He's just not using it. Family friends have told the Telegraph he believes the king has an ulterior motive in wanting him to leave. He and Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, his daughters, have told friends that the king wants Royal Lodge to be the Queen's base in Windsor should she outlive him. It would mirror the living arrangements of Queen Elizabeth II's mother, Queen Elizabeth, who lived in Royal Lodge when she became a widow and moved out of Windsor Castle. The king's aides flatly deny the suggestion, but the prince has nonetheless become fixed on the idea, which surfaced a year ago, that Royal Lodge was being earmarked for the Queen. This was another interesting piece of colour, Tash, from the article. The Prince of Wales, that's Prince William, who has no time for his uncle but remains on good terms with his cousins Beatrice and Eugenie, has made it known that he wants the issue of Royal Lodge settled before he becomes king. So things are moving very fast on this story, Tash.
Yeah. Indeed, they are. I mean, the fact that the film crews were already, people were already there outside Royal Lodge and nothing happened. In my mind, I could imagine Andrew was latched on to sort of like the stairwell and people were trying to drag him out by his legs. He is
It
going
does
to
feel
do.
like that at the moment, doesn't
It
it?
does.
It's like the
He is.
ultimate witch hunt.
Yeah, you know, he is entitled, he is arrogant, he is determined that he doesn't feel that he's done anything wrong. And, you know, I don't think anybody cares what the king uses Royal Lodge for, but they want to see something actually happen. By allowing Andrew to do a statement saying that I'm not going to use my titles anymore, it's not enough as far as people are concerned. Now, whilst I think that Andrew is definitely being used as a scapegoat for the bigger names that have also been involved with
Yeah.
this scandal to do with, you know, his former friend, I do believe that there is a definite witch hunt on Andrew, but I do think that his titles should be taken officially. I do not believe that Andrew should be allowed to remain in Royal Lodge. It's a 30-room mansion. And the fact that they found out that he paid for a lease and he pays peppercorn rent, he's still benefiting. He's still benefiting in a way. I'd imagine somewhere along the grapevine, it will be to do with taxpayers. And it's just not acceptable. It's not just with his friendship with Epstein, it's the national security risk, the Chinese spies, all sorts of dealings out in Saudi Arabia. He needs to be completely demoted. Saying that he won't be allowed to come to family parties is not good enough. The public want to see action, and the king not taking action makes him, and I dare to say it, look a bit weak.
Yeah, although I think this is developing fast, Tash, because then there has been new reporting over the course of the day by the Daily Telegraph revealing that Prince Andrew is indeed in talks to leave Royal Lodge. So let me take you through this developing story. So they say Prince Andrew is in advanced talks with the King's representatives about quitting his Royal Lodge home. Buckingham Palace is trying to crank up the pressure on the prince to voluntarily give up his 30-bedroom residence. Discussions over the prince's living arrangement have been happening on a daily basis since reports of him living there rent-free caused a public outcry. But the main sticking point is where he will live instead and how much money he will receive in compensation for the millions he has spent on the property which is leased from the Crown Estate. Royal sources report a mood shift in the palace in recent days, including a renewed determination to force Andrew out and a recognition that his daughters, Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, need to be looked after and reassured that their own homes in St. James's Palace and Kensington Palace, respectively, will not be affected. There had been hopes that the prince's living arrangements could be sorted out quickly to draw a line under the constant stream of negative publicity, with rumours swirling, as we were just discussing, Tash, on Thursday, that he was hours away from moving, but finding a solution that works for all parties had been proving difficult. So, Tash, this is a very, very fast-moving story, but what seems inevitable to me is that Andrew will have to go. But and look, I really want to stress, and I've got to be clear on this, and anyone who's followed my reporting on this will know, I'm not defending Prince Andrew. I've been very, very tough on Prince Andrew in the past. Honestly, go back and read the columns that I wrote about Prince Andrew when I was at The Sun or when I was at the Daily Mail, okay? So I've had a long track record of breaking a lot of big stories in relation to Prince Andrew and his appalling behaviour. But Tash, I also understand about cancel culture, okay? And I do not want to see someone driven into an early grave before there has been at all, actually, but there needs to be due process. And the mainstream media conducting a pitchfork-waving witch hunt, I don't think actually helps anyone on this. And what I've seen over the past week, and this is why I refuse to buy into the absolute hysteria, is things just going too far. Like, it clearly is too far when Sly News is allowing guests on air to suggest that the way out of this is for Prince Andrew to drink a whiskey, go into his study and use a revolver to shoot himself. It's like, come on. We ended up in this situation because of the suicide of Jeffrey Epstein. So again, I just want to clarify, I'm not defending a lot of what Prince Andrew has done, but I just try to bring a bit of a balance to this situation. Let's cut some of the hysteria. There does need to be due process. And what I see happening at the moment, remember, this is a guy who's been under psychiatric care. I don't know. It's all...
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Does seem very much like pitchfork waving. We saw something very similar happen after Jimmy Savile, didn't we? Where we saw lots of people that were being accused, even though that they hadn't done anything wrong, but because they was associated with him. And let's remember that Andrew hasn't had any charges put against him for any of the accusations. So I do definitely agree that it needs to calm down a bit, as it were. But I still personally believe that I think they should take the official route to have his dukedom taken from him. I do think that he should be moved out of Royal Lodge into somewhere, still on a royal estate, but he doesn't need a house that big anymore. But yes, where is the line? The fact that people are saying that and being allowed to say that, that's actually really disgusting. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. But yes, no, I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, look, it just feels like at the moment, Tash, the wider mainstream media are not going to be happy until Prince Andrew is strung up at the Tower and killed. And what my view of this is the guy, and I posed the question to my outspoken audience, and over 100,000 people voted, and actually they agreed by quite some margin that actually Meghan Markle is the biggest threat to the British royal family, because Prince Andrew is disgraced, okay? There is no way back for him. He is disgraced. He is already disgraced. Wow. He is going through the biggest punishment, Tash, that any human being can go through, which is that your reputation is destroyed. There's no way to bring it back, and you are now a footnote in history. So, again, I just want to say, not defending Prince Andrew, but there is balance to the story, and I've always tried to bring the balance to the story. And if people don't like that, then I understand that that's fine. You can go and watch a huge amount of hysteria, which is going to say Andrew is the worst person in the world. But remember, there's a whole load of people in America, like Bill Gates, like Bill Clinton, who have never been held to account for their relations with Jeffrey Epstein. And there are also a whole load of questions about the credibility of Virginia Giuffre's account, given that Alan Dershowitz she lied about, and given that she's currently being sued even by her estate is being sued by other accusers of Epstein. At the same time, Tash, Andrew lied. There's no doubt about that. He lied about his relationship with Epstein. So look, there's a balance. That's all I'm saying. But look, Tash, do stay with us, because we're going to move over to Substack now for more of the Royal Uncancelled After. Big news on Prince William and Prince Harry via Royal Insider Piers Morgan. Remember, he's friends with Queen Camilla. So I think I have an idea where this new information is coming from. We're going to discuss it with Tash in just one moment. You can sign up to watch the Royal Uncancelled After Show. You get the Royal Uncancelled After Show Monday to Friday, twice the length of what you've just watched. Sign up, www.outspoken.live. I'd love you to be part of my Substack community.
The King graciously extended an invitation to the President of Ukraine to visit the royal castle ahead of an important afternoon gathering of the Coalition of the Willing, which will bring together several prominent world leaders. This marks the third occasion within this year that Mr. Zelensky has been received in a formal audience by His Majesty at one of the royal residences. Upon his arrival at the castle, the Ukrainian president was greeted with a magnificent royal salute and honoured by a solemn performance of his nation's anthem, rendered with full ceremonial dignity. It is a moment of historical significance as it represents the very first time the Ukrainian leader has been received with such a formal welcome on British soil. Following the salute, the president was invited to accompany the king in an inspection of the 1st Battalion of the Grenadier Guards. Dressed entirely in black, Mr. Zelensky expressed his heartfelt gratitude, saying, "Thank you so much" to the guard who led the ceremony with great precision and decorum. After the inspection, the two leaders proceeded inside the castle for a private audience where matters of great international importance were expected to be discussed. Onlookers from the public gathered eagerly outside the gates of the quadrangle, hoping for a glimpse of the historic meeting. Their conversation takes place only a few hours prior to the official assembly of the Coalition of the Willing in the capital city of London. The coalition, initially formed by the United Kingdom and France in the month of March, has now grown into an alliance of more than 30 participating nations united under a shared vision. Later this afternoon, Sir Keir Starmer is set to host NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte, the Prime Minister of Denmark Mette Frederiksen, and the Prime Minister of the Netherlands Dick Schoof. The President of France, Emmanuel Macron, is expected to attend the summit virtually through a secure connection. This group, which last convened virtually during the month of August, continues to strive toward ending the brutal and devastating conflict in Ukraine, while simultaneously working to prevent any future acts of aggression by Russia. It is widely believed that the leaders will deliberate on new strategies to intensify diplomatic and economic pressure on Russia, while at the same time reinforcing Ukraine's military resilience and defence capabilities. The gathering takes place at a tense moment, as Donald Trump escalates his efforts to challenge the regime of Vladimir Putin through a new wave of direct economic sanctions. On Wednesday, the President of the United States officially placed sanctions on Russia's two largest oil corporations, Rosneft and Lukoil, signalling a clear message of growing discontent toward Putin, who, only a day earlier, had once again violated NATO airspace. The imposition of these sanctions followed swiftly after the collapse of planned peace discussions between Trump and Putin that were meant to occur in the city of Budapest. After the summit in Hungary was abruptly cancelled, Trump remarked with evident frustration, "I have good conversations, and then they don't go anywhere. They just don't go anywhere." According to a statement from the White House, the decision to sanction Putin's regime was a direct response to his persistent lack of serious commitment to a peace process that could bring an end to the war in Ukraine. The impact on Russia was almost instantaneous. Global oil prices surged by nearly 5% overnight following the announcement. King Charles previously hosted Mr. Zelensky at Windsor Castle in the month of June. The two had also met earlier in March at Sandringham, only days after the king found himself at the centre of headlines due to his private dispute involving Donald Trump. That meeting occurred less than 2 days after the highly publicised confrontation between Trump and Zelensky in the Oval Office in Washington. At that time, Mr. Zelensky expressed his appreciation by saying, "I'm very happy that His Majesty the King accepted my meeting tomorrow." Throughout the conflict, King Charles has remained a steadfast supporter of the Ukrainian president and his people, offering unwavering solidarity since the unprovoked Russian invasion that began in February 2022. His Majesty has publicly recognised that Ukraine has endured indescribable aggression following what he described as an unprovoked attack on their land. The King and the President had previously met during Mr. President. Zelensky's unannounced visit to the United Kingdom in February 2023, where Charles told him warmly, "We've all been worried about you and thinking about your country for so long.